one of the great things that I like about the Chargeway app, or a lot of the tools out there, is, and it kind of goes at it, it's like, where are these charging stations? Where can you find them? And I think a big visualization is when they can actually see that they are everywhere. They might not always have the big orange shell, or I guess that's 76, orange 76 right next to the highway. But as far as like the day-to-day, you never need it. It's kind of like leaving the house with a fully charged phone every day. Yeah. They usually die, but with the cars, I've never had that issue. Mm-hmm. And that's where I know that's kind of been a big talking point for a lot of people in the EV spaces. There needs to be better signage.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that is true. However, I think it was Forth recently had someone on in one of their webinars talking, and for people who don't know, Forth is, it's kind of a local, I guess they're no longer local, they're all over the US, but a nonprofit that's kind of helping build awareness for electric vehicles. And one of the things that this study from people in Berkeley had said was, I believe it was Berkeley, it was somewhere from the Bay Area, that essentially over the last 10 years, awareness of even electric vehicles in general hasn't grown. And so I'm always trying to figure out ways to really build that awareness just beyond, here's a couple of signs. And I think sometimes that might be the bigger issue, and would love to hear if there's anything you guys have seen to kind of help change the mindset, or just really change the conversation in a way that really stands out.
No, actually, I think the study you're referring to is probably the UC Davis study.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, and it was interesting because it was between 2014 and 2017 that the amount of public available charging stations in California doubled, but the percentage of people that felt that there was not enough infrastructure for EVs in California also doubled. Yeah. And so if you build it, they will come mentality clearly isn't working, because we have to ask ourselves, what are we trying to convince people to do? And I think to your point about the study from UC Davis is the fact that if we pretend that putting a charging station into a parking lot that's the size of, I don't know, a phone booth or a lunchbox even, is the equivalent of putting in a fueling station that's the size of a city block on a corner, then we're already screwing up, because the visibility of fuel is the problem. Is there's two products we all purchase every time we buy a car that runs on gasoline, the car itself and the gas. We don't think about the gas because it's just waiting in the background, and we've seen it everywhere.
Infrastructure has existed for decades.
Yeah, it's ingrained into society, and that's how we understand fuel. And so that's a huge, huge psychological barrier. That's why I don't think it works too well to try to explain an electric car like a cell phone. Oh, you just plug it in, because people then have the exact response that you did, which was, well, my phone can die. Right. But my car, if I put it filled with gas, it doesn't die unless I'm an idiot. I mean, that's kind of how people think of it. So
it's funny you should say that. I had a really funny experience recently. Kind of going off of that, I also have a Subaru Outback that I usually drive my dogs around in.
That comes standard with all Portland residents, right?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard that before, Wade. That's original.
I had an Outback when I lived in Portland too. It's a two-way street.
I'm pretty sure you don't even get tax rebates or anything anymore. This, like, once you do your taxes, they give you either an Outback or an Impreza, depending. But no, so yeah, hashtag Portland problems. But no, I took it to the gas station, paid $40, and then drove away. And I was like, oh, the gas light is still saying it's empty. Ended up taking the Subaru, got a loaner car, and then the whole time it turned out they had charged me $40 and never filled the tank.
Oh, because they were filling it for you, kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought there was a glitch with the actual. No, I mean, yeah, I guess that's something else to clarify. In Oregon, people pump the gas for you, and they kind of change it for with COVID going on. But the place I was at was the person comes out and actually still pumps it for you. And so I drove off, assuming because the gas light still wouldn't go off, that there must be an issue with the car and not the charging infrastructure of the gas station. So it's kind of like this weird, are there problems? Yes. Are there problems with the current status? Yes. And I do think it's kind of that, like I'm sure you guys have always heard it, but it's that analogy of like horses before the cars were a thing. How would you describe a better way to get around? And people would say, horse. A faster horse that eats less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it doesn't poop or bite you.
Right. Well, yeah, no kidding. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, it was this really weird and oddly, like, one, I kind of felt dumb, but two, just like surreal experience. So like, okay, Is this what we've known? Yeah. Is it easier? Not really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll be honest.
That was a fluke. That's the first time I've had that happen or heard it happen to someone else. But
yeah.
Okay.
I think the thing that because Oregon obviously being unique, and same with New Jersey, that they pump gas, is that there's a lot of Oregonians that may not fundamentally understand, that process, right? But the other 48 states, they get it. I think the one thing that's interesting about gasoline and just the experience of using it is that you as a driver predominantly you have control of it by sake of the fact that you choose. I get this. I went to there. I can manipulate the situation, and I can do it myself, and it's simple and it's fast. And I'm willing to pay for that convenience. That's the difference, is even the comparison of like electricity is much cheaper than gasoline. A consumer that isn't fundamentally interested in changing over to a new fuel type, they're going to ask the same questions, which is, okay, is it as fast? And depending on which station you're at or what car you're driving, the answer is, well, maybe not. And then they'll immediately have the retort of, well, then I'll keep paying for convenience.